Hi, welcome or welcome back to Books and Bocadillos. My name is Mariandrea and I have a bit of a longer video. So in this video, I'm hoping to bridge the gap between 2025 and 2026 and get all caught up with you as we're starting the month of February 2026. I'd like to get all caught up and do a couple of booktube tags to help me reflect and move forward. So the first tag I'm going to do is the 2025 Best, Worst, and Most Surprising tag. It's basically a list of superlatives. And this tag was created by Justin at Triumphal Reads, and I was tagged by Suey at Suey's Book Banter. So I have the tag here in my notes on my phone, and I'm like working double duty. I have a phone and I have my journal. So here are the prompts. There's 15 prompts, 15 superlatives. I'll try to be quick. Longest book I read in 2025 is East of Eden by John Steinbeck. That was a reread for me. Number 2, shortest book I read in 2025, that would be Lady Susan by Jane Austen. And that was my first time reading it. It was delightful. Number 3, new favorite author, hands down, Annette Chavez Macias. I'll talk more about Annette Chavez Macias in a future video. I do plan to do a book review for her books. Question number 4. A book that made you happy. The Townsend Family Recipe for Disaster. I've already talked about this in a previous video. This was one of 3 books that I read that were recommended to me. And I made a little bit of a friendly competition out of it. So the Townsend Family Recipe for Disaster was written by Shauna Robinson. It was recommended to me by Ellen at Ellen Read Book Club. Thank you, Ellen. And I enjoyed it very, 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 very much. Question number 5. Most depressing book I read in 2025. That is Out of Darkness. Like I have it right there. Out of Darkness by Ashley Hope Bettis. I will also be reviewing this book. Melinda, this is a book that is not for you at this time. It's a YA book. It's a Prince Award winner. It is dark. It's historical fiction, and it is about racism. And it's harrowing. It is also a banned book. Okay, question number 6. A book you've thought the most about. Okay, this one I couldn't decide which of these 2, but these 2 books I thought so much about. The first one is a play that I read with Angelia and her project, Endless Drama, and that was Death of a Salesman by Arthur Miller. And then, maybe for the same reasons, very similar discussions about working people and the struggles of working people is The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. Both of these books were about families that were struggling, and I think both of these books were incredibly poignant and timely. As I was reading them, I felt like they were reflecting a lot of the current social issues that we're facing in the United States of America in the year 2025, which is when I read them, and still today. Prompt number 7, a favorite cover. Okay, this one is a cover to show off. I was able to splurge on this one. This is Little Women, and this is the Harper Muse like painted cover edition with gold foil for the pages. And it has some illustrations, like some artwork inside along with the text. It's just beautiful, and the print is perfect. It's not tiny, teeny tiny. It's very easy on the eyes. So all in all, it was a great edition of Little Women. Now to reread The Distant Marvels by Chantal Acevedo. This is also one that I plan to review. I'm working on a bunch of book reviews, right? I've been working on them for a while. I have some already done, but I just need to record them. But this was the March of 2025 pick for the Books and Bocadillos book club. And this is a book that I would gladly reread. I can talk more about it in the future, but it's a great book. It's about the historical fiction book set in Cuba. And it has a really strong sense of place and I think really compelling characters and a really compelling story. An Underdog is prompt number 9. That would be Too Soon for Adios by Annette Chavez Macias. And then 10 Most Surprising, also Too Soon for Adios by Annette Chavez Macias. Too Soon for Adios I read in the month of March, and it was my entry point to Annette Chavez Macias. I had purchased Too Soon for Adios when it was released as an ebook, and I hadn't read it, so I'd owned it for a little bit. It was one of the books that I wanted to read off my shelves and my digital shelves. It's a short book, so teeny tiny book. It doesn't have a lot of like reviews or ratings. I was not sure. It was my first time reading Annette Chavez Macias, although I really had heard great things about her and I'd seen an interview and I wanted to read her books. So I still wasn't sure what to expect. I really enjoyed it. I really, really, really enjoyed it. It's a book about grief and family dynamics. There's complicated family issues. There's romance. This is women's fiction. And I thought it was very well written. I've been thinking about it. And also made me really excited for the Annette Chavez Macias book pick for the Books and Bocadillos book club that we read in December. And I will talk about that in just a little bit. Then 11 is the most frustrating book. Okay, not that this book was frustrating, but it was the book that gave me the most frustration with my reading experience of it, and that was Queen of the Cicadas by B. Castro. I also have a book review planned for this one. This was the Books and Bocadillos book club pick for the month of October. It was my second B. Castro book. I had read The Haunting of Alejandra prior to reading Queen of the Cicadas. I really enjoyed The Haunting of Alejandra, and I was struggling with Queen of the Cicadas. It was really challenging me as a reader. I'd never read anything like it, and it's definitely outside of my comfort zone. So I think that's why it was frustrating because I wanted to DNF it, but it was also the Books and Bocadillos book club pick, so I wanted to finish it, but I also wanted to DNF it, and I kept trying to push myself to the finish line and watch some reviews, and then my friend Crystal from the channel Piper Artsy gave me some encouragement, and that was kind of the encouragement I needed to just get to the finish line with it. And I was glad I did. I was glad I persisted, but it was frustrating when you have a book that is challenging and it's outside of your comfort zone. 12. Most disappointing. Okay, the most disappointing book for me was The Distance Between Us by Reina Grande. I don't like rating memoirs. Usually I don't like reviewing memoirs, but the reason why this book was disappointing, and I feel like I have to say that I felt disappointed, was because the first part of this book is written in 2 parts. The first part of the book is so good. You hear most of the story is from the perspective of the author as a young child. Young Reina's voice is so clear and it's compelling, and it's a really heart-wrenching part of like the narrative is just that child voice. Then you have adult Reina inserting her adult voice in different parts of that first part, and it's kind of like it takes the reader away from that child, like the connection that you have with young Reina. So, but instead, it was kind of like all of a sudden you'd hear the adult voice interrupt the child voice, and that felt a little jarring for me. I did the audio, and I also read the print book, and I could have just done with the first part. I feel like the second part was about the the second part was about Reina Grande's life already in the United States, and I see I like that we had it, but it was just very, very different. Like there was not, I felt like two different books in one. Like I think it maybe would have been better to have like a box set of like part one, part two, um, and maybe have a different style. But it was very abrupt going from part one and then part two, and then in part two, there's all these other things that come up, and then it's kind of like you're getting parts of the family that you didn't know about when Reina was a younger child, and adolescent Reina is dealing with other things in school and with her family. But then you're also seeing Reina grow and talking about becoming a writer, and I don't know how to say it. Like I I think I think the best way I can say it is I think the second part was just a different kind of book. Like it was just a different style, a different story to tell. It wasn't it's I feel like it stopped being the immigration story and it was the assimilation story, the acculturation story. Like there were two different kinds of stories being told. But I do have to say that I did appreciate Ana Grande as a writer. I do think she is a great writer. Prompt number 13. Most overhyped. Cider House Rules by John Irving. That was the most overhyped book that I read in 2025. I liked it. I really, really liked it. I just think it's overhyped. Sorry. And prompt number 14, the most underhyped book, I think, is When We Were Widows by Ana Chavez Macias. This was the December pick for the Books and Bocadillos book club. It was really good. It was so good. I really liked it. You have 3 generations in the family. They're all widows, and there are family secrets to unravel. And it was really good. It was really good. I think Ana Chavez Macias is a great storyteller. Prompt number 15, a book you wish you had read in 2025. I, who have never known men, I didn't get to read this book, and I wish I had, but I ran out of time. It's going to be one that I am looking forward to in 2026. I'm not tagging anybody because I'm super late to this party, and then I'd like to transition now to the 2026 New Year, New Me book tag. This tag was created by Kevin at Kevin Toll Reads, and I was tagged by Pat at Book Chat with Pat and Suey at Suey's Book Banter. Question number 1. Fears. What is one book from your 2026 reading goals that scares you? I thought I brought it. Here it is. The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. This book has been on my TBR on my shelves to read for a really, really long time. I haven't read it because it's intimidating, and I feel like it's going to be a really difficult book. It's one that I would like to read ASAP. So I'm going to try to pick it up for Black History Month this month. Question number 2, patience. What is the book on your 2026 reading goals that you want to start immediately? It's this one right here. 101 Dalmatians by Dodie Smith. It's a really beat up copy that I found at a used bookstore, but I'm I'm looking forward to reading it. My dog, who passed away in 2025, she was part Dalmatian, part Lab, and Labrador Retriever, and I see a Dalmatian and it reminds me of my little one. So it's one that I want to read as I'm going to be coming up to her year anniversary from her death. Question number 3, growth. What book last year pushed you to reflect and or grow as a reader? I'm going to go back to the one I mentioned earlier. The most depressing book that I talked about in 2025 is also the book that pushed me to reflect and grow as a reader, and that is Out of Darkness by Ashley Hope Bettis. It was such a hard book to read because it's so harrowing. It's historical fiction. I will talk more about it, but even though you know where the story is going and you know it's based on like real events in history in the 1930s. Also, I think I read this in the summer, so it was probably one that I was reading just after or as I was reading The Grapes of Wrath, which takes place at around the same time. So that part of history in the United States in the 1930s, that was something that I feel like it was overload when I read it, and I think that's why it was something that I can't stop thinking about. The Grapes of Wrath, or I thought about it so much, and also this book was just a really difficult book. It did challenge me. Question number 4, new paths. What is one author you plan to try for the first time in 2026? And it is this one. Kathy Park Hong, Minor Feelings, An Asian American Reckoning. I just picked this up recently. So for the Piñeiro Project, we read Eden Glassy for the month of January. I'm going to mention that in a little bit. But after the discussion that we had about Eden Glassy, we talked about ancestry, we talked about history, we talked about racial issues, erasure, colonization, and I've been thinking a lot about racism and colorism, and I feel like this is where I need to go next. So the back of this says, as a daughter of Korean immigrants, poet and essayist Kathy Park Hong grew up steeped in shame, suspicion, and melancholy. She would later understand that these minor feelings occur when American optimism contradicts your own reality. When you believe the lies you're told about your own racial identity, minor feelings are not small, they're dissonant, and in their tension, Hong finds the key to the questions that haunt her, part memoir and part cultural criticism. This book traces Hong's relationship to the English language, to depression, to poetry, and female friendship. A radically honest work of art, Minor Feelings is an utterly original exploration of Asian American consciousness. NPR blurbed this as a major reckoning. The author uses her life's flashpoints to give voice to a wider Asian American experience. I've heard that this is a book that pulls on an immigrant story and the complexities in tension, like racial tension and identity. So Aiden Glassy brought up a lot of feelings for me, a lot of memories that I had not tapped into in so long. And I think that's the marking of a really good book, when it brings out things in a reader that you have to confront. But in having to confront my own history and my own reckoning, I feel like I need a friend. I feel if my friends with the Piñeiro Project have been super, super supportive and kind. But I just feel like I'm not done with this conversation, and I need to keep working through those tensions. I have a feeling this might be my next source of support in seeing the reckoning and coming to a point of deeper understanding. And 5, self-care. What is one book and or series you revisit for comfort? The Curse Breaker series by Bridget Kemmerer. I read part 1 or book 1, A Curse So Dark and Lonely, and then book 2 is A Heart So Fierce and Broken. I started it. I think I started maybe a couple of years ago and I didn't finish it. I didn't DNF it. It was really good, but I know Bridget Kemmerer has new books that have come out, and I really want to finish the series. I really enjoyed book 1, and it is a series that I want to finish, and it is one that I find comfort in. So that's the one I'm looking forward to continuing with. Question number 6, forging ahead. A debut book that I read last year that I would like to talk about and I'm still thinking about and processing is The Grief Keeper by Alexandra Villasante. This book won the Lambda Literary Award and it is a YA debut. It was published, I've talked about it before, but it was published in 2019, reissued in 2025 in paperback. First published in 2019, then the paperback in 2025. The Grief Keeper. And 7, do you have a specific reading goal or challenge for the year ahead? For me personally, I'm doing I have the Books and Book of the Year's book list, which I'm going to read through. And then also I'm doing a 26 and 26. And for the year, I've done the alphabet. I tried doing this a couple of years ago, and I didn't finish. I didn't get through all of them. So basically what I have done in the past is A through Z, and then I put an author for each of the letters of the alphabet, and then I try to read something from each of those authors. That didn't work out well for me when I did it. I did read some, but I didn't finish the whole alphabet. This year, I reworked it, and now instead of authors, I have titles. So I'm pulling books that I already have on my bookshelf that I want to read. So it's kind of part of it is the Read What You Own challenge, but I'm kind of trying to make the Read What You Own challenge my own. So I've put books from my shelves on this list, and I have it could either be book title or if I can't find a book title, then I go with the author's name. So I have the list and I'm going to try. That's going to be my Read What You Own challenge for the year. If I can read those 26 books off my shelf, I'm going to be really happy with myself. 8, breaking walls, also a bonus prompt. Do you have a non-book related goal for 2026 that you wish to share? Yeah, check out my personal curriculum. I talked about yoga and poetry. I'm not tagging anybody because I'm late to all this stuff. Now for a quick January wrap up. Book haul. I was so happy to receive some bookish gifts. I received a lot of bookish gifts. For example, this isn't bookish, but it's my new favorite mug. I've been using it a lot. It was a Christmas present from one of my cousins. Another one of my cousins got me like a wrap, like a bookish cape that you can wear that's like really cozy and flannel and warm, and I love it. And she got me also like a little tumbler that's bookish, and you'll probably see that in future videos, especially because the tumbler is more for ice drinks, and so that might be one that I use a lot in the summer. I think she also got me a candle, like a bookish candle, really cute stuff. And for gifts, for books, I do have a bit of book haul, like gifts that I've purchased for myself with gift cards or discounts or things like that. I just saw, oh no, okay. My friend Angelia at the channel Read and Reread sent me this amazing book in the mail. Like, Angelia, you paid so much money for just like the weight of this book. Thank you so much. Um, Audubon's Birds of America. This is a gorgeous book, and it's got the sprayed edges with like different birds and like flora. It's so cool. Look at the back cover. It's just gorgeous. The illustrations in here are so beautiful. Like this is the spread. So Angelia and I both live in South Texas, and South Texas is known for birding. It's like the one of the tourist um, draws to this area is that because we live in the south, because it tends to be warmer climate, we see a lot of birds migrate south through here. The monarch butterflies come through here on their way to Michoacan, Mexico, and a lot of birds come here in the winter. So right around October, November, we start seeing like new birding population. Like the streets are just filled with birds. There's birds screaming and singing, and oh, it's just the sounds. It's just amazing. I personally I love it. And usually like this time of year, you'll see a lot of birding activity. Um, just in different parts of the coast and like on the by the river. It's really cool. So we live like near the Gulf of Mexico and the Rio Grande River, and so there's just a lot of activity that happens with birding and nature stuff. So I had mentioned to Angelia that if I like could learn to do a vlog, and maybe one of my motivations for doing a vlog would be that I could do like a read and bird watch kind of a vlog where I could go and do some bird watching and then also do some reading. And I told Angelia that if I ever get to do that, that I would go visit her in Corpus, because I'd want to like do a little bit of like a take the scenic route, from one end to the other. Like, so we live about 2 hours apart, and so just kind of do that stretch. So I mean, who knows? Maybe if I figure out how to vlog and I learn how to do it, I could go and do that. But in the meantime, she sent me this so that I could birdwatch from the comfort of my warm and cozy home. So I'm so grateful. And this is now on my coffee table. And then my friend Pat at the channel Book Chat with Pat sent me these two poetry collections that I'd already had on my radar. And they are both by Andrea Gibson, the poet Andrea Gibson, and they are Lord of the Butterflies and You Better Be Lightning. I read from this collection for my most recent Thursday night poetry video. So thank you, Pat, for these collections. I love Andrea Gibson. I have The Madness Space by Andrea Gibson, and I'm already enjoying You Better Be Lightning. I'm still reading through this one, and then I'll hopefully get to this one soon. And then Pat, I'm gonna transition into books I purchased. So a book that I purchased for myself was this book that Pat actually said that in her Secret Santa video from December, if y'all remember, she did a bunch of like Secret Santa gifting. And so in one of those videos, she mentioned that if she could give me a gift, she would give me this one. So I ordered it for myself. The Intentions of Thunder by Patricia Smith, New and Selected Poems. It's a beautiful cover, and I'm really happy to have this. Thank you, Pat, for recommending this to me. It is a beautiful collection. I have not finished it. I've read a couple of poems from here as I've just been perusing it, but I look forward to reading it in its entirety. I also purchased this one. Worlds of Exile and Illusion by Ursula K. Le Guin. So I had this on audio, and I've been reading along with the group that Gareth at Book Songs and Other Magic started in reading the works of Ursula K. Le Guin and or the Hainish Cycle series books. Anyway, and I really needed the print book because with I feel like sometimes with sci-fi and fantasy, sometimes it's good to have the print to go back to. And in this case, I did feel like I needed this as well, just to kind of go between both the audio and the visual learning. And then Tracy K. Smith is an author, is a poet whom I really enjoy reading, and I found this, and then I just realized Pat also talked about this collection recently, but I think maybe we purchased it around the same time, but I purchased this earlier in the month of January, and it's Fearless Poetry in Perilous Time. It just felt like I needed this, and this is a discussion about poetry to help with reckoning. Ada Limon, the 24th U.S. Poet Laureate, blurbed it as fearless is a great inhale of much needed air. Tracy K. Smith has once again shown us that she is both brilliant and tender as she explores the ways poems can change us. This is a must-have book. And this is what the inner flap says. A Pulitzer Prize-winning poet reveals how poetry is a powerful tool of connection and understanding in a fractured world. Drawing on deep passion and personal experience, former U.S. Poet Laureate Tracy K. Smith demystifies the art form that has too often been mischaracterized as inaccessible, irrelevant, or intimidating. She argues that poetry is rooted in fundamentally human qualities innate to our capacities to love, dream, question, and cultivate community. Lifting the veil on her own creative process, Smith shows us how reading and writing poetry allows us to better confront life's many uncertainties and losses, build camaraderie with strangers, and understand ourselves more fully. In 6 insightful chapters, she grounds readers in technical elements of the craft and provides close readings of the works of contemporary poets such as Joy Harjo, Dana Smith, and Francisco Marquez, alongside classic poems by Dickinson, Keats, Millay, and others. By reimagining and re-examining the age-old art form, Fearless is a warm invitation to find meaning, consolation, and hope through poetry for poetry fans and newcomers alike. So, poetry for hope, I'm down for that. And along the same lines of we're like building community and resilience, We're Alone by Edwidge Danticat. A friend of mine, one of my really good friends, who might be watching this, my in real life friend, she and I oftentimes read together, and we are both social workers, and we love exchanging ideas and books. And she's been asking me to read Edwidge Danticat, another book by Edwidge Danticat. But when I saw this, I thought this is exactly what I want to read right now. So this is what the inner plot says. Tracing a loose arc from Edwidge Danticat's childhood to the COVID-19 pandemic and recent events in Haiti, the essays gathered in We're Alone includes personal narrative, reportage, and tributes to mentors and heroes such as Toni Morrison, Paul Marshall, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and James Baldwin that explore several biting themes: environmental catastrophe, the traumas of colonialism, motherhood, and the complexities of resilience. From hurricanes to political violence, from her days as a new student at a Brooklyn elementary school knowing little English, to her account of a shooting hoax at a Miami mall, Danticat has an extraordinary ability to move from the personal to the global and back again. Throughout, literature and art proved to be her reliable companions and guides through both tragedies and triumphs. Danticat is an irresistible presence on the page, full of heart, outrage, humor, clear thinking, and moral questioning. While reminding us the possibilities of community, We're Alone is a book that asks us to think through some of the world's intractable problems while deepening our understanding of one of the most significant novelists at work today. And then this one, when you listen to this song on Memory, Loss, and Writing by Lola Lafon, translated by Lauren Elkin. I don't know if I said that correctly. So the author is French, and this is translated from the French. And it's the inside flap says, a quietly powerful exploration of memory and forgetting from one of France's leading feminist public intellectuals. In 2021, the award-winning French poet Lola Lafon was granted permission to stay overnight alone for 10 hours in the annex in Amsterdam, where Anne Frank and her family had hidden from the Nazis between 1942 and 1944. Lafon's visit to this space, where Anne Frank wrote her famous diary, evoked the confinement and constant danger suffered by the Franks and the family's ghostly presence as well. The night was inhabited, lit by reflections. Lafon writes, some urgency still dwelled at the heart of the annex, crouched there, ready to be discovered. Exploring the many stories told about Anne Frank, Lafon tries to find the precocious girl at the heart of the venerated and exploited myth, a disciplined writer whose famous diary is in fact a wonderfully constructed literary work. Throughout, Lafon reflects on what it means to lose loved ones, both Lafon's own family in the Holocaust and her childhood friend to the Khmer Rouge, a prize winner and a bestseller in France. This book also asks us to consider the stories that we tell ourselves about tragedy, how we grapple with loss, and why, in the face of danger and confinement, women write. And I love that so much. So I just really wanted to read this ASAP. And then Cleo Wade. I have a collection of poetry. I have two of her poetry collections, but I saw this and I thought I would like to add this to the collection. Remember Love, Words for Tender Times by Cleo Wade. And Cleo Wade writes poetry and then does like annotations, so it's like an annotated poetry collection, and I really enjoy her. And then I really wanted to read this, but I couldn't get a copy of it in the month of January, so I ended up finding one, and I'm going to be late to reading it, but Cat on a Hot Tin Roof by Edward Albee. This was the Endless Drama selection for January. That Endless Drama is the event that Angelia, the year-long reading event that Angelia at Read and Reread hosts. And so right now they're reading Fences, always feeling behind. Like I'm always months behind with the group, but I love following along anyway. And I'm really excited to finally get to this. And I think that's it. That's the haul that I had to share. And so just a wrap up. What have I read? What am I reading? And what am I looking forward to? I read Eden Glassy with the Piñeiro Project. I talked about that. I read Rocannon's World with the group that Gareth at Books, Songs, and Other Magic is hosting. And I also, that's by Ursula K. Le Guin. I also read No Time to Spare by Ursula K. Le Guin, and reading those two side by side were really great because I was able to connect with the more recent voice from Ursula K. Le Guin as she's writing, reflecting back on her life as a writer and the times. And then Rocannon's World is the debut, so it's seeing the author from like beginning to end, like to like a reflection at like kind of like okay, looking back on her career. That was really, really cool. So I felt like I connected with Le Guin in just a different way as I was seeing both points of her career. I also finally finished Beowulf. This translation by Maria Devana Headley, and I really love this book. I love this story. This is like reading the Message version of the Bible. I love the way that this is told. Like the writing is so accessible. This epic poem really feels like it's modern, and it's crazy how this ancient work of literature can still feel so relevant in present times. Like we're talking about, like I was reading this as this talking about Denmark and um, the kingdom of Denmark. And as this, I'm reading about this, we're dealing with Greenland and an occupation in Greenland, or like a discussion of an occupation, a United States occupation in Greenland. And it was kind of a weird, like how the warring elements and all of that was just so relevant. It was just blowing my mind. I could read this, seriously, I could read this like every year. And I also read a short story, The Reunion Dinner by Jessie Q. Sutanto. That was my first entry to Jessie Q. Sutanto, and I really liked her writing, so I look forward to reading more by Jessie Q. Sutanto. You're Not a Girl in a Movie. This was a special audible production of Hala Alian's poetry. I read the 29th year in the month of December, really enjoyed that collection of poetry. And some of the poems from the 29th year are in this audio collection. You're Not a Girl in a Movie. I really enjoyed this collection. I loved it so much. I wish I could get that collection like in print, but I've looked for it and it's not. I guess it's just an Audible exclusive. And then I also read Shady Hollow. I don't have it. I have it upstairs, but I read Shady Hollow by Juno Black, and Juno Black is actually a pen name for two authors, and they have a whole series. I look forward to continuing in the series. It's a cozy mystery series set in a woodland fantasy world, and I loved the characters. Currently reading. Okay, so I keep popping in and out of this book. Lush Money by Angelina M. Lopez. This is a romance. I've been reading it for a while. I think I started it for Garbagast, and I didn't finish it, and I've been reading it bits and pieces here and there. I picked it up for Guadalupe Reinas, and I didn't finish it, so I'm still continuing with it. The Ancient Guide to Modern Life by Natalie Haynes. I started this for Historathon, and I'm still working on it. A Heart So Fierce and Broken by Bridget Kemmerer. This is book 2 in the Curse Breaker series by Gabriela Jaregui. I started this also for the Guadalupe Reinas event. I didn't finish it, but I will continue. It's really interesting. It's a really interesting short novel. I cannot wait to finish it and be able to say more about it, but I am finding it super interesting. It's a commentary on violence against women and the women's movement, women's resilience, women's trauma, specifically in Mexico, reflecting on the violence against women in Mexico. I also am still reading Garlic and Sapphires by Ruth Reichel. This was my plan to read for January for the Ben Reads Good challenge, and it was about reading something about food writing. And it was also recommended to me by Melinda at A Web of Stories during the Yo la Boca Flood that we did in the book club this month, and I told her like, oh yeah, I already own it. I'm gonna read it. That's my pick for January. So I'm loving it. I'm about to finish. I'm very close to finishing. It's just gonna get extended a bit into February, but I should be done with it by tomorrow. And then 1984 by George Orwell. I am doing a read aloud of this book on TikTok, and I'm going to continue until I finish it. I'm looking forward to starting My Broken Language by Chiara Alegria Udes, and this is my pick for the Books and Bocadillos book list for 2026, and I'm starting it this week. And Borrow My Heart by Casey West. I started this for August. I didn't finish. I just barely started it. And I am wanting to finish it. Oh, I have to show you. So my bookmark for this, Spiral My Heart, Casey West. There's puppies and cats on the cover. Talking about, I think, rescuing animals. So I found this bookmark at Barnes and Noble, right? This is the bone, the dog bone. So my husband colored it for me, like painted it white for my little doggy that passed. So this looks like her spots. She has different spots. So anyway, that's my bookmark. That's where I left off. But this screams Valentine's Day to me. And Casey West is one of Suey's favorite authors, and I told her I wanted to read Casey West last year, and this is my entry to Casey West. Didn't finish. Want to get this done in February. And Sherlock Holmes for Holmes is Where the Heart Is, and 101 Dalmatians, which I've already talked about. I am also looking forward to starting to get back into the hang of things here on BookTube. I'm about to start a new job tomorrow. I'm hoping I have a little bit more time to record and edit videos from time to time, so I'm hoping I can get back into at least doing one Poetry Thursday a month and doing some weekend review videos and get back into that swing of things. And I've been working on book reviews. I've been like writing things out, writing my thoughts, doing some journaling. So I'm hoping that I will be able to film some of those book reviews that I have planned. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for everything, for your support, your kindness, your support with my recent videos this week, and the congratulations on my 3rd BookTube anniversary. I really appreciate all of you. Hasta la próxima.